So congratulations, you got that promotion at work. You're going to be starting tomorrow and diving right in. And the first thing you want to do is take charge of every situation that you possibly can and just show them who's boss. So good for you. Unfortunately, there are some leader misconceptions that you should be aware of before you take on that first challenge. Hey everybody, welcome back to Career Compass Media. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. So I want to talk with our new managers out there or those that are new to a leadership role and talk about some common misconceptions when it comes to getting either promoted or getting that first position. Maybe you move out of your company where you were, a frontline staff and now you're a manager at another location. And I actually have these tips from a class that I took with a gentleman named Eric Gerard. He actually has a book out there. I recommend like I've done in several videos, that you always get used to different resources and experience different types of trainings. I was actually able to go through a training with Mr. Gerard, and this is his book actually here on the screen. It's called Lead Like a Pro. If you have a chance to see the book or go through a class with Eric, fantastic information for anyone who is new to a leadership role or really just wants to understand what it takes to set a good, steady foundation to build your leadership style and yourself as a leader. And so misconception number one is authority automatically comes with the job. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have accountability, right? If you have 5 people working for you and you're responsible for them hitting, 1,000 widgets by the end of the month, ultimately you're responsible for that. However, you can't just go and start browbeating people simply because you have a job title. A lot of people think, well, I'm the boss. What I say goes. And, while they're looking and while they're in the room staring at you, sure, they'll do exactly what you need. The reality is, though, you need your team to act independently. You need them to think independently. You need them to push independently from you. If you've always got to be there browbeating them to get stuff done, you're really not motivating them. In fact, you're demotivating them in many ways because you're not allowing them to thrive, and really you're not taking the time to build credibility that you're a part of the team as opposed to a dictator of the team. So misconception number one, authority doesn't just automatically show up because you happen to have a job title. All right, so the next big misconception is that team building is some kind of luxury. You're a people manager, and when you're a manager, essentially you're managing a team. And if one team member is out of line, let's say you got a team of 5 people, and one of them is out of line, and the other four all of a sudden have to take time away from their primary task to pick up the slack, you're essentially behind because of that one poor teammate. And what that does is that changes the entire team dynamic. So there's that old adage, right? One bad apple can spoil the bunch. Team members are the exact same way. You have to have your team working together in unison to make sure that whatever objective that you're working on is moving forward at the proper pace and that work is actually being distributed in a way that makes sense to the entire team. If you have someone who is always doing a majority of the work and then you have, 3 or 4 team members that always sit back and say, oh, we know that person will step up and always do it. They always have in the past, so we're just going to sit and coast. That person who is the high performer eventually is going to get fed up with that and they're going to leave. And so think of what happens to your team when your highest or your best performer walks away. All of a sudden, you're reliant on a whole lot of less than stellar performers to pick up the slack. And if they've never done that, you're going to seriously regress in your team's output because of that. So team building, understanding team dynamics, understanding that there's a lot of perception building and a lot of respect building and a lot of really just time for them to get to know each other and know their style. That's not a luxury. You have to build your team. So team building is not a luxury. It's not optional. You have to take time to build your team to find everyone's strengths and everyone's weaknesses so those things can be balanced out so everybody can move forward successfully. All right, so the last misconception I want to talk about is, when you have a title, people will come to you naturally. And that's great. That's why you're there, is you're supposed to be a resource. By resource, that doesn't mean you're the encyclopedia of all things under the sun for that particular company and all the problems that they're going to run into. The biggest misconception that new managers have is that they're supposed to have all the answers. If you're a new manager, you're just as new as everybody else on the team. The dynamics maybe have just changed. Even if you promoted into that team, it's even worse if you've come from another company to manage that team because all the systems are different, all the personalities are different. You're just as new to them as they are to you in your particular position. So you're not going to have all the answers. In fact, this is actually one of the best times. If someone comes to you and they're struggling to find an answer to a problem, this is actually an excellent time for you to say, you know what, I really don't have that answer, but let's all sit down as a team, do some team building, and come up with an answer together. Or maybe they leverage their expertise and you can highlight them and show them the value that their knowledge brings to the team by being that person who doesn't have to be the know it all. When you're new to an organization, when you're new to a management role, you're new to so many different things. There's no way you can possibly have all the answers, nor should you feel like you should have all the answers. Don't fake it. Don't say, yep, this is what I'm going to, I'm 100% sure that's it. And you're maybe like 10% sure. Don't fake it. You can't fake it because the reality is nobody has all the answers. A big misconception, though, especially for new leaders going into the role, is that they're supposed to have all the answers to everything under the sun, and you just can't. And that's perfectly fine. Your job is to be a resource manager, human resource manager, project resource manager, basically bringing the resources to the table so everyone can be successful. You don't have to have all the answers. Find ways to find the appropriate resources to get the right answers to the right people and bring in your team. Ask them the questions of, okay, who else has dealt with this problem in the past? Or maybe bring in a peer, bring in your supervisor to show that, you know what, you're willing to ask questions, you're humble enough to know that you're not going to have every single answer under the sun. But you got to know a big misconception that you don't want to step into is thinking you have to have all the answers simply because you're the new manager. So thanks everybody for tuning into the channel. Appreciate your time. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Take care.